These are examples for the lesson on ellipses. For number 1, we're given endpoints of a major and minor axis of an ellipse, and we have to write the equation for the ellipse. So first, let's try to find the center of the ellipse. There are a couple ways of doing this. So first, let's try taking the midpoint of the endpoints of its major axis. So what that really is if here I have my ellipse, let's say, I'm just taking this line, or these 2 points, and finding the point in the middle, which is the center of the ellipse. So we can do that with either the major axis or the minor axis. So let's start with the major axis. For the major axis, the midpoint, it's the average of -3 and 5 over 2, and the average of 1 and 1. And this leaves me with 1 and 1. You could also do this for the minor axis, and you'll have the average of 1, 1, the average of -1, 3. That'll also give you 1 and 1. But there is an easier way of doing this. If we look again at our ellipse, the major axis, it stays the same this way. It doesn't change. The minor axis is just the opposite. It stays the same this way. It doesn't change. So what you can really do is just look at the coordinates that don't change. What I mean by that is, let's look at the major axis. The 1s don't change, and those are for the y-coordinate. The minor axis, the 1s don't change, and those are for the x-coordinate. So there I have my midpoint, or rather, my center. Now I need to find the values of a and b. Let's think again graphically. Here I'll draw that ellipse. So we know the center of this ellipse. So if we can find the distance here or here, we can find A and B. So I can pick any point, any endpoint of the major axis. It can be the first one or the second one, and just take the distance. Luckily, this value doesn't change. So the distance between, let's say, these two is really just the difference between 1 and -3, which is 4. You could also do this with the other point, which is going to be between 5 and 1, which is also 4. So that gives us our major axis, A, of 4. Now we have to find B. And we can use a similar process. I'll look at this and this. The difference is 2. So B is equal to 2. We now have everything it takes to write the equation. So we know it looks something like this over that. This over that is equal to 1. Top's going to be squared. The bottom is also going to be squared. So now let's just put an x and a y here, and let's figure things out. So here on the center, the x-coordinate is 1, so -1. For the y, it happens to be the same case, so -1. Now for the major and minor axes, I have to figure out which one goes along the x-axis and which one goes along the y-axis. So let's think about this. If we look back up at the major axis here, the 1s stay the same, and that's the y-coordinate. So if the y-coordinate stays the same for the major axis, then it's the x-axis that really changes. So x is what relates to the major axis. So this is going to be under x, and that leaves the 2 over here. So this is our equation.